I tried to find a interesting comment that we got on the channel. It was several months ago, but I remember it well because it had an interesting challenge for you, which was it had to do with South America being Catholic and the discussion of why are those countries hard to rule. But this person went a different route and asked why are they so corrupt. Like he seemed to say that all the Catholic republics or all the republic countries that are primarily Catholic are all hugely corrupt.
They are.
Why is that?
No king.
What does that mean?
Well, here's the thing. Catholicism is by its nature a very monarchical religion, and the cultures it's produced are very monarchical. And what is that above all? It's personal. And authority in a Catholic monarchy is a very personal thing. Under the king, the father of his country, you've got the nobility, the governors, the commanders of the army, all these sorts of people. And they all function under his superior command. And he, in turn, ensures that they work for the common good. You take the king out of the picture, they all try to occupy his sovereignty, but they're caricatures of real authority. And they become totally self-interested, father of their own country, as it were. I'd go further. Why do you think it is that most of the corrupt ward bosses in the United States were always Catholic? It's because we're a very tribal people. It's because we naturally respond to real leadership. But the problem is, without the anointed king, that all degenerates into self-interest by the capo del tutti capi, the boss of all bosses.
So, in a sense, are you saying that Protestant countries do republics better?
Well, they do in one sense. They do republics better because everything is Protestantism itself. How do I put it? Protestantism excelled in separating uh, reality from appearance. Catholics cannot. When we got rid of the kings in Catholic countries, um, there was nothing to replace it, and there was no ability to cover it up, to play, to pretend. But with Protestant countries, just as when they severed the connection with Rome, they were able to continue with state churches that very often looked more or less Catholic, but weren't. But nevertheless, socially occupied the same place the church had occupied. They got used to this sort of thing. So in time, their monarchies became very much the same as their churches. The appearance remained, but the reality was elsewhere. And now, of course, in the United States, we took it a step further. Instead of the appearance of the king's authority, as in Britain, we have the appearance of the people's authority. But it means as much as the Queen's does in Canada, Britain, Australia. But all done in a very polite manner. All done with a minimum of apparent dishonesty. But in truth, it's a greater dishonesty. It's not petty thieving. It's not mere beating up opponents, although God knows both of those have happened in America. It's a complete lie, that's all.
There was another element I remember you said about Protestant nations.
Compromise. They
Yeah,
were,
I think a little bit. You said conformity.
yeah,
Yeah,
conformity and compromise, whereas in Catholic nations, Catholic people tend to be much more individualistic and anarchic by nature, because they're very much aware of their freedom as human beings in a way that Protestants are not.
which is very interesting to me because we fancy ourselves a very individualistic people, but you're saying that's not so.
Well, I don't want to get all Jungian, but he did have one idea that I think was very smart, which was the idea of the law of opposites. That is, that people are always the opposite of what they say they are. One thing you find in Catholic countries is that every government, whether it's royal, republican, or dictatorial, they usually go on and on and on about order and discipline. Uh, but especially if they've had a military coup. But the truth is that they have to be ham-fisted because their opposition is always so strong-willed. Whereas in Protestant countries, the opposition is rarely very strong-willed. Um, People go along to get along, and that's one reason I think why it is that, on the one hand, when you have Latin Americans coming, say, to Southern California and other parts of the United States, in those countries, you can do anything you want up to a certain point. Beyond that certain point, somebody will kill you. But up to a certain point, do whatever you want. Nobody cares. Uh, with us, we're self-policing. I mean, you saw that during the height of the pandemic, when people who were walking down the street without a mask, away from everybody, got yapped at. I mean, that's just crazy. That's utterly crazy. You're not anywhere near anybody. Who are you going to infect? So, but that's only a worst case scenario is something that's already present in our society. We're very, very conformist. And we're always worried about what other people are going to think. And I better be careful what I say. All right. So what happens? Bring a bunch of Latin Americans up to our country, where literally nobody will do anything if you get out of line. We don't realize this. That's why we're such little bunnies. But because we're such bunnies, we have to leave it up to others like the Popo to enforce everything. So what happens? They get up here, they know nobody's going to haul off and shoot them the way they would back home. So they do anything they want. But you bring us down there and we're free of all the disapproval. So we go cray cray. And that's why you'll find such violence amongst so many of our Hispanic brethren up here, or up in the States, I mean, and why Americans are so embarrassing to watch in Latin America.
but isn't the American system working better in general than South America? I mean, like,
I
doesn't
don't
seem.
know. Two thirds brought Newsom back.
Yeah, but
The president is a senile moron waiting to die so that the ex-mistress of the mayor of San Francisco could become president. I don't know.
it's a long
And
way
this is,
down, though, wouldn't you say? I mean, like, yes, you're right. There's that, but then there's the Medellin and Cali cartel.
yeah, and they've been around pretty much the way they are forever. They haven't changed. We have. We've been on a long slide down. They've just sort of been there treading water. And we'll keep going down. And understand the reasons why we're going down are implicit in the nature of our origins. With them, I mean, the story of Latin America is the story of an empty throne that people have constantly tried to fill, and they never have, and they can't. Our story is even worse because there's no throne to fill. There's just
But I mean, do you understand what I'm saying on some level? I mean, like, we don't have favelas, you know?
no, we don't. We don't. But instead, what do we have? We have soulless suburbs. We have people who are neurotic to the nth degree. I mean, we have wealth, and they don't. And believe me, poverty is no fun. I've had it, I know. But how do I put it? They haven't fallen too much further than they ever were. We have risen and we've fallen very fast. I mean, look, I can remember when I was your age. Well, all right, not that old. But when I was a boy, the average American family were at the pinnacle of success. Any middle class family could put aside money for the children's college, for their own retirement. They could travel. They could lead what was considered a middle class lifestyle as well. Now, any family can do any one of those things. And it will continue to decay until we're in a favela like existence or the thing collapses in fire and blood. Now, in Latin America, it's been what it's been, what it's been, what it's been. For the most part, the decay in Latin America in recent years has been all bound up with the decay in the church. And that is on us. Because so many of the churchmen down there started talking about liberation theology and not about our Lord and our Lady and the saints and salvation. Tons of Latin Americans have gone to these Pentecostal preachers who will, and who are often heavily funded by American Protestant groups.
How does that connect to their financial downfall?
Well, let's put it this way. It doesn't help.
That's pretty loose, Charles. That's a pretty dubious claim.
It is, but I'll tighten it up for you. One thing it's done is destroyed the social cohesion Latin America had. One thing you find about poor populations is that when everybody's poor, they do find ways to manage and to keep each other going. But what the advent of Protestantism has done in many areas in Latin America is shredded that and set town against town, village against village, family against family. And, you know, of course, the Latin American upper classes, many of whom are educated in the United States, have picked up a lot of our crap. Hence the push for same-sex marriage, abortion, contraception down there. But that's all directly from both the United States and the kind of Latin American who's gone to Harvard.